I think we're ready to go. It says we're on air. I don't know if we're on air, but I hope we're on air. Hello, everybody. Welcome to WordTech. This is, our WordCast from WordTech. I'm sorry, I failed there.
Yeah, you did.
Welcome to WordCast number 27. So right now, this is just, pretty big day. In case many of you maybe didn't know, today is We Save the Internet is the goal. So the fight for net neutrality is going on today as we speak and as we stream this. So, pretty good stream, I think. We have a lot of interesting content here, including Intel being garbage, fuck them, and net neutrality stuff, as well as more information about RX VEGA. Interestingly enough, this time, they're leaks, not rumors, so they're much more likely to be true.
Also, if you like iPhones for some reason, Qualcomm doesn't want you to be able to buy them.
Qualcomm's
More
a dick,
11.
but not really. But they kind of are.
Kind of, yeah.
That's one of the two-sided arguments out there. That's one of the two-sided arguments. There are some people that feel that Qualcomm's in the right, some that feel that Apple's in the right, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. So, we're going to actually start off with Intel Xeon Scalable. So, this is another great example of Intel being complete garbage.
Yes.
So, basically, Intel is being genius in the way that they are fighting AMD's EPYC on the server side.
Let's start with the actual products they announced.
So
they announced 50 processors.
Because it wasn't confusing enough, so they were like, here, let's announce more.
And 7 chipsets.
Sockets.
Huh?
Sockets, right? Or is it chipsets?
Might
I
be
believe it was
different.
seven sockets. Anyway, so basically they were just like, hey, here's a big, clusterfuck of stuff for more of you server people to be more confused about because you weren't confused enough already. So, that's exactly what we have all been asking for. Mm-hmm. So, let's do a rundown. I'm not going to do a rundown of every CPU because that would take like an hour, and we don't have an hour to talk about these. But I'm going to go ahead and do a rundown of the different tiers here in a moment. So first, I'll explain what this is. So Xeon Scalable is basically a brand name for Intel saying, hey, it supports more sockets now for multi-sockets on board. Meaning, we now have, instead of just, so Xeon for a while, you've been able to, with certain Xeons, you've been able to do 2 or 4 Xeon CPUs, so 4 full sockets, 2 to 4 sockets on a single motherboard for server-based stuff. So you could have, like a 22-core or a 28-core Xeon. You could have 4 of them in a system, which was, it's cool, but it's lots of sockets instead of higher core count CPUs themselves. So what they did this time is expanded that to 8 sockets. So basically they're rebranding everything, increasing the prices of everything, calling it scalable by adding more sockets. So, their response to AMD's EPYC is more sockets because we don't know what else to do right now.
And cheesing benchmarks horribly. I don't know if you've seen this slide.
I have not seen this slide.
So, this slide compares a Xeon 6143, which is a
6134,
which I don't know the exact price. Can you pull up the price of that processor while
yeah.
this?
Is that one of the new ones, I'm assuming?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, cool.
But they are comparing an Intel Xeon at 2.2 gigahertz and 8-core to the Ryzen 7 1800X, but Intel lowered the clock to 2.2 gigahertz.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Like, we're just so...
It's a... Oh, I think I have...
It's gotten completely ridiculous at this point.
They're comparing a $2,200 Xeon to a downclocked version of a $449 processor to make their system seem better.
They had to underclock the chip that's a quarter of the price. Sorry. No, a fifth the price.
Almost.
Yeah, oh my god. Oh, we hate you so much, Intel.
Yeah, and then they're trying to say that for SMT, there's a significant difference between these processors.
Yeah.
And they're like shitting on server-side Java on Ryzen specifically.
It's gotten to the point where, like, Intel is clearly scrambling because they have no fucking idea what to do. And so instead, actually, I want to do when we're done with this, with the Xeon Scalable, I want to do a little bit of a lineup here of all the fuckery that's been going on with Intel since Ryzen got announced, because they weren't prepared for any competition.
I am going to be posting a link in the chat that shows a link to where these slides are that have the ridiculousness that they're trying to show.
It's so bad. It's frustrating, actually. It's actually frustrating and confusing. And the thing is, they're doing it to the wrong area. The server people, the people that are working in big corporate server systems,
have to look into this stuff.
They know all this shit.
Yeah.
They already know that this is screwing people over. So it's not even like X299 and, Kaby Lake X. it's not like that where it was just like, okay, it's for consumers, it's stupid, it's garbage, but you can trick consumers. This is for the intelligent people in specific.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even understand like what their idea is.
Yeah.
What do they think that they're going to achieve with this? That's my question.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even know.
Yeah, this is just absolutely insane.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know what Intel's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You were gonna do the rundown of the processors.
Yes. So the processors themselves. So again, up to 8 sockets, but only on certain processors, mind you, of course. So and 28 cores is allowed on the 8 sockets now too. So keep that in mind. Up to 28 cores and 1.5 terabytes of memory support. Which if I'm remembering correctly, Epic supports 2 terabytes of memory. So they're even down on that. Go ahead and check that for me. So. Starting from the top tier stuff from Xeon.
Yes, 2 terabytes of RAM at the top end and 128 PCI lanes.
2 terabytes of RAM at the top end for Epic, and it's cheaper. But we'll get into the cheaper part a little bit more.
How many PCI lanes do these have?
48 lanes. Yeah, so we're still looking at 48 lanes of PCI Express.
That's why they have so many sockets.
That's why they have to have so many sockets.
So you can buy more $13,000 processors.
Yes, you have 128 PCI Express lanes on Epic. So, something that a lot of people don't know, though, when you scale, so you can have up to 2 sockets for Epic. But when you scale with Epic, with the up to 2 sockets, again, you can't go any further than that, you end up, you lose half your PCI Express lanes, but you still have 128 total. So 64 on each CPU is used to communicate with each other. And then that's that's the Infinity Fabric, basically. And then, sorry, not the Infinity Fabric, but kind of. Anyway, so then the other 64 from each CPU adds up to 128. That's what you still have usable. Intel, the way they interconnect, they scale so you can have more lanes just by adding more sockets, more CPUs themselves, whereas that wouldn't work with Epic. So in order to catch up, they take their 48 lanes and go 8 sockets. Now you have a lot of lanes.
Yeah, so you would have to spend, at the top end, $39,000 to get the same amount of PCI lanes that Epic has.
It's so bad. It's so bad. So you can have up to 384 PCI Express lanes, which is pretty good.
But for the price you're paying, you could build an entire extra server room.
You could build multiple Ryzen dual socket servers at that point. You'd have the same amount of PCI Express lanes and more CPU bandwidth to throw at. Yeah. So anyway, Xeon Platinum will be up to 28 cores, up to 8 sockets, up to 3 UPI links, which is, I believe, how they interconnect. 6 channels of DDR4 2066. Can you check, does Epic have 8 channels of memory? I think it's 8 channels.
I believe so.
Up to 1.5 terabytes of memory, 48 PCI Express 3.0 lanes. So yeah, 28 cores, that's the Platinum lineup. Now, Xeon Gold, so they're changing all of this stuff.
Yes,
it's actually
all of Epic supports 8
even their 8 cores support 8 channels of memory and 128 PCI Express lanes.
And 2 terabytes of RAM.
And 2 terabytes of RAM. Whereas with Xeon, it scales down. So Intel's been doing this kind of fuckery since AMD hasn't kept up in pretty much all areas, where they're having this multi-tiered system where they go, we'll take the same thing and we'll limit it and charge less price for it so that we can overcharge all the other stuff. So what they're doing is they're basically saying, this chip that's worth, $4,000, we're going to take it, we're going to cut stuff back on it and charge $4,000 so that then we can take the other ones of that same chip but unlock everything for $8,000, just as a random number example. And so that's what Intel's been doing to screw people over. Instead of trying to give a good price and stuff like that, they've had such a hold in the market that they've just been tiering things so that you have to pay for extra features that you shouldn't be paying for because all of them have it, or a lot of them have it. Yeah. So anyway, Xeon Platinum, already went over that. Now, this is where it gets even better. There's 2 Xeon Gold lineups. There's Xeon Gold 61XX, up to 22 cores, up to 4 sockets, up to 3 UPI links, 6-channel DDR4. Then there's Xeon Gold 51XX, so a different series, up to 14 cores, up to 2 sockets. So they were trying to simplify it because Xeons have been getting so confusing. So with the bronze, silver, gold, platinum idea was, hey, we'll make this simple by summing up, hey, if it's a platinum, it can do these things guaranteed, so you can have that in the back of your mind. Then they go, there's 2 gold series. How does that make any sense? How do you go 5 series, 4 categories, but we'll just have 2 the same name?
Yeah.
They could have used anything else. They could have used, some other tiering system. They could have added another color tier, copper or whatever. But instead, no, there's just 2 gold lineups.
Yeah.
So, anyway, then there's silver, up to 12 cores, up to 2 sockets, 6-channel DDR4. And then there's bronze, up to 8 cores, up to 2 sockets, no turbo boost, keep that in mind, and 6-channel DDR4 again. So basically, here's the garbage that they're giving you, and they're making it more confusing by adding more CPUs and more sockets, but trying to simplify it. So they're actually making it confusing. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad.
This whole thing is a huge mess. And then when you look at, like, with how hard they're having to cheat the numbers, like, as I mentioned before with the 1800X thing.
It's so bad.
Now, when you actually compare proper SMT numbers, on average, this is from Anantex testing. On average, both Xeons they tested pick up about 20% due to SMT. Whereas the Epic improved even more than that. It got a 28% boost.
Jeez. It's so bad at this point.
Yeah.
It's so bad. The stuff that Intel's doing. And the funniest part to me, to be completely honest with you, is it's not the Intel fucking people over, because they've been doing that forever.
Yeah.
It's the Intel's response to AMD and all of their wonderful Ryzen stuff
is to lie to their most
important market. To people, create bullshit products, and then raise their prices.
Yep.
Were they not prepared for Ryzen to potentially be successful? Like, did nobody sitting in Intel go, what if Ryzen's actually good?
I'm sure somebody did, but then they were like, nah.
They were like, no worries, it won't be. Yeah. We've been developing our shit for so long, and it's like, well, clearly you haven't been working that hard at it. So at this point, it's just, it's almost laughable.
Yeah, especially when two of the big arguments for why you should pick Intel over AMD are that AMD's processors are glued together, and that Intel is at a monopoly point in the CPU industry. That's literally one of their arguments, because they're saying, hey, it's going to cost you time and money to get optimized for AMD, so just stick with us.
Yeah.
Not that our processors are better, they're a better value, they're more efficient, anything about the actual chip. It's simply, hey, fuck you.
They're just it's fuckery. It's just fuckery. There's no other like better term for it or anything of the sort.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
The whole thing is screwed up right now. Which is great for AMD.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy for AMD. They deserve this kind of this kind of stuff. I can't talk today. They deserve, this success that they're going to be having because of this. But it's still funny that Intel, like, they just didn't even think about it. Like, I don't understand. I'm actually a little bit mind-boggled by the idiocracy of Intel with this. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. And I would think that I thought the response would be, okay, we'll lower our prices, because that's the simple thing to do, because their CPUs don't cost them as much as they're charging, but anywhere, they're an order of magnitude more expensive than it costs them.
Yeah, and Intel is running into this extremely dangerous point as far as the future of their company goes. Yeah. Where at some point, ARM is going to be the future of computing for most use cases.
It's a matter of time, yeah. The only thing that x86 is still going to be around for is going to be for high-end platforms.
And even then, the x86 instruction set can run on ARM very well nowadays.
Yes. And ARM stuff's so cheap and so scalable in servers. It's going to eventually take over, and they're not looking long term.
The performance they're starting to get out of some of these chips is insane.
Great. And the thing is, it shows you where Intel's mind is. Intel's mind is with the investors and the money, not with the product. Yeah. And that starts to cause long-term problems for them. So basically, so if you look at AMD, they've been talking about integrating ARM with their chips simultaneously. Yeah. They've been working on this. They've been putting research and development into this sort of stuff. So Intel's over here trying to push x86, which is old and eventually going to be phased out. And AMD's over here saying, hey, let's start working with ARM. And they were poor when they started working with ARM. Yeah. Intel's not investing money into the future of their company. They're investing money into how do we impress investors now. And what does an investor that knows jack shit about computers see when 50 new CPUs? Invest. Yeah. That's what an investor sees. New stuff coming out, Intel, big company, invest more money. They don't see oh wait, they're being complete jackasses and idiots.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to, let's just say they're realizing it slowly.
It's going to take time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Intel has a lot of cash
there's even
hand.
This article from MarketWatch talking about how Intel is going to lose to NVIDIA amid this big shift in the tech industry and computing. As of right now, Intel's best chance at having a key stance in the future of computing hardware is what they're working on for augmented and virtual reality, and as far as standalone headsets go.
Yeah.
If that stuff takes off and Intel can get a foot in there at the ground floor, they'll do well, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, and I'm sure Intel's going to make an eventual, recovery from it. But that doesn't make what they're doing okay. And what they're doing is both poor for their company as well as, just poor for the market in general.
Yeah.
This is bad, although it's good at the same time, because Intel making these massive list of mistakes simultaneously while AMD's going, hey, we have good stuff.
Yeah.
Is super awesome, and I'm super happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So anyway, continuing on. So, pricing. I want to get a little bit into the pricing of these, and then a little bit into some of the a roundup of what a kind of a roundup of what Intel's been doing lately to give you guys a good idea. Real quick roundup of all the fuckery that they've been handling. So let's start here. Okay, so let's give them a baseline. We're estimating around $4,000. Could be up to $5,000. I highly doubt any higher than that for the 32-core Ryzen EPYC CPUs. 32 cores, 128 PCI Express lanes, 8-channel memory, and one other thing that I'm forgetting because I'm an idiot. Anyway, basically overall a better product than Intel's 28-core, highest count stuff. So what's Intel do? They raise prices.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have the 28-core 8180M CPU, the top of the line one, $13,000.
That's all.
So you get 500 gigabytes more RAM support. You get 2 more channels of memory. You get, what is that, about 4 times the PCI Express lanes? And you get a way cheaper price.
And you get 4 more cores. 2.66 times.
So like 3 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so like 3 times the amount of PCI Express lanes, and you get 4 more cores, 8 more threads. For $10,000 almost less money. We're looking at $8,000 to $9,000 less per chip for a substantially better chip. Especially if the clock speeds are fairly high, which I'm actually estimating that they will be. So, yeah. I like how WordTech is spamming WordTech's chat.
Uh-huh.
Hey, moderator, stop arguing with other people on the chat. You're supposed to be moderating the chat.
He is. He can do both. He can converse
We're
with
gonna
people.
be bringing our moderator in to talk about stuff later.
It adds another interactive
it's
element.
Cool. I don't care. Oh, man.
Also, EPYC's clock speeds go up to 3, I think.
Clock speeds go up to 3 gigahertz?
At least this one turbo's up to 3.
Up to 3. So,
nice. All core boost speed is 2.55, which is still pretty good.
Well, that's fine. That's higher than the base.
2.55 across.
2.55 is higher than the base for the 28 core. So that means literally Intel's worst scenario where all the cores are under load, it's going to be running at 2.5 gigahertz on the top end. The cache, we're looking at 38.5 megabytes of cache versus
64 of L3.
Oh my god! It's an overall better product for a third the price.
And what's the RAM speed max?
I believe it was 2666.
Okay, so those are equal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand. What do they think they're doing? They're basically just re-releasing the same shit over and over is what Intel's doing.
Yeah.
And that's because they don't know what else to do. And they should be contacting IBM and be like, hey, can you help us make a smaller CPU since you guys seem to have figured it out? Maybe we'll see IBM come back as a CPU maker.
Dude, I would love that.
I would love that. I would love that too because fuck Intel.
I also really wish that NVIDIA would have made CPUs for desktop instead of just for mobile.
I agree.
Because the Denver cores, I think if they would have made that for x86, that would have had some potential.
I can agree with that. So tell them a little bit about gluing CPUs together. I heard about this thing where Intel was like, saying something about gluing CPUs together.
Yeah, so they are literally, and this is in one of their official slides, literally saying that one of the problems with AMD is that their processors are, or they're essentially the way that they're built is For those that don't know, AMD's processors are essentially in chunks of 4 cores, right?
Correct. It is
Yeah.
4
So they're
CPXs,
saying it's just a
yes.
bunch of 4-core processors glued together.
And the funniest part about this is then they start advertising about 8-socket motherboards.
Yeah.
So that's already the funny thing. But yeah, they're telling people glued together. They're telling people that AMD is taking these things and gluing them together. Which the best part about that is when you look into it with the Infinity Fabric in between the CCXs on EPYC, that is solving any kind of intercommunication problem, which is actually allowing this exact thing to work. And
yeah, here's a great comment that sums up the bullshittiness of this whole thing.
Please read.
Intel sells K processors for overclocking that overheat when overclocked, and Intel says people shouldn't overclock, and they use mayo instead of thermal paste on their CPUs.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, that sums it up. So, yeah.
Is mayonnaise a thermal paste?
I love it. I love it. Oh, man. So yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that Intel is doing all the stupidest shit that they could possibly be doing right now.
Mm.
So, now let's sum some things up here. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, the first company to actually assemble a CPU with glue, Intel.
Yes.
On a Core 2 Duo?
Technically speaking, their thermal interface material between their die
True.
and their heat spreader is adhesive. It's glue.
Yeah.
It's glue and heat transfer in one thing. So technically, Intel glues the cooler onto their CPUs instead of soldering it like AMD. Oh, man. So anyway, I can't stop. Okay, so let's sum up all the fuckery that's been going on with Intel lately. I'll try and do it in as best order as I possibly could.
Yeah, the Core 2 Quad was glued together.
Glued together, yeah. I mean, like, literally, it's just multiple...
It was essentially, though, it's the same thing. Yeah, it's exactly that. And so
it makes sense. It makes it so scalable.
And when this was the case, when Intel was gluing their CPUs together, and AMD released a proper quad-core CPU, AMD didn't shit on them and say, ha, your CPU's glued together. They just said that theirs is the first real quad-core.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. And it's like...
Which was true.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that the tech power-up, just a little summary above the article, fantastic. At the end of it, it's talking about how... or I'll just read the whole thing. So, yes, Intel, I think the AMD engineers who have developed the Zen architecture from the ground up would take issue with that, especially when AMD's glued together dies actually wipe the proverbial floor with the Blue Company's chips in power performance ratios and deliver much better multi-threaded performance than Intel's offerings. Not bad for a glued together solution, I'd say. Tech power up is like done with Intel after this bullshit.
It's gone too far. Intel's gone too far because now they're toying with the marketing in the professional area. Mm-hmm. That's not something you do. Yeah. So let's sum this up really quick of the fuckery of Intel. Okay, so first we have X299 releases, which has half the CPUs available for it are garbage, and like not garbage in performance, but they're fake basically because they don't actually exist yet. They're going to be making them, so they're coming out later, right? So, anyway. Okay, so we have X299. We have processors that aren't even released yet that have been announced at X299 when they announced that as a competition type thing against AMD's Threadripper. I cannot talk today. Anyway, then we have X299 having overclocking issues with its VRMs overheating. Then we have Kaby Lake X and Skylake X. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Kaby Lake X only. Garbage quad-core CPUs on X299, which makes no sense. Disabling features. Everybody was like, this makes no sense. This is stupid. What are you doing, Intel? We're so confused. Frustrating people. Then we have Kaby Lake X having issues where it doesn't overclock well and is consuming more power than it does on the mainstream.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and a lot of the X299 stuff is consuming more power than it's supposed to.
Yeah, correct, yes.
And
yeah, we have, if you use a single 8-pin and you try to overclock on X299 on any of the high core count chips, you can actually cause your wiring from your PSU to get hot. Potentially hot enough to light things on fire. Mm-hmm. It's that bad.
And some of the motherboards, like especially one of the MSI motherboards, auto OCs all of the 4 gigahertz chips to 4.3. And you'd think, okay, 0.3, not a significant difference as far as power consumption. No, it's 80 watts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, continuing with Intel's fuckery. So then they proceed to say Epic is glued together. Then they announce all the shit that we just talked about by saying, hey, don't worry, we have an answer to AMD Epic. More sockets, bigger motherboards, and higher price tags. I like how they're charging more, too, saying Xeon scalable, it's costing us more, when it's literally the same fucking thing. It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand. And there's a couple other things that Intel's been doing recently. I don't even remember what it was. Other than, not innovating forever.
Yeah.
And the best part to me is then we have NVIDIA, a company that hasn't and still doesn't have real competition from Team Red. And they're over here like, oh wait, the way Ryzen's design makes really smart sense, having, small core count chips connected together through a really good link.
Yeah.
Hey, let's announce our thing. We just tested a whole bunch of small core count GPUs linked together, and it works really good.
Yeah.
So they're out there, like, taking ideas from AMD, and they're innovating themselves, and they're doing interesting things with their GPUs.
Yeah.
And Intel's over here like, we've been fucking off for 6 years,
Yeah.
and 10 years in the server market, so now we don't know what to do. And this is what happens when you have two different companies that both have such a huge hold on the market. NVIDIA and Intel have such a huge hold on the GPU and CPU market. You have one company innovating, trying to push things further, the other one not giving a shit because they're a monopoly, and it shows you what happens when another party comes in and finally kicks butt. Mm-hmm. Because I can guarantee you, even if VEGA was beating the 1080 Ti, NVIDIA's been trying, and their stuff's still going to sell well, and they're going to be able to do the right things with their stuff. It's not going to be this kind of fiasco where they go, we don't know what to do, let's lie to people.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be interesting because it's going to be extremely difficult for Intel to quickly course correct, and when they lose 10% of the market share, that's going to hurt them bad.
Yeah, it's going to hurt them, and it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of GPUs.
Yes.
VEGA!
So, interestingly enough, some VEGA leaks happen. Now, this is a WCCF Tech article, but generally things from them...
Cool, bathroom break, guys.
What I've noticed from them is that they mark it as a rumor. The chances are really... You gotta put a lot of salt on it to know if it's real or not. But when they mark something as a leak, it oftentimes is really damn close to the right thing because it's a leak from internal sources from, like, AMD and stuff like that.
And this isn't sourced from WCCF Tech. It's
right,
sourced
correct.
From
it's sourced from Video Cards, who is always right. Not literally, but dang, are they good. So, 3 RX Vega stuff. So, Vega XTX, and this is the Frontier Edition water-cooled edition.
Sorry, the original source is actually 3D Center.
Oh, I haven't heard of them. Interesting. Okay.
And so what happened was, so the article started at 3D Center. The video cards people have their own sources who they reached out to and got some confirmation.
Okay.
The code names are not final, which is normal. They're never final until they announce them.
Right, of course.
So
yeah, you've got RX Vega XTX. It is essentially the Frontier Edition card, liquid-cooled 375-watt TDP. It's looking like we might see some pretty serious clock speed bumps, but that's not guaranteed. But on the water-cooled one, we could see 1700 to 1800 megahertz, which is going to put this damn close to the 1080 Ti in performance.
We'll see.
That's going to do a good buff. Because we're running at generally below 1600 megahertz, even though it's rated at 1600.
Yeah.
You bump it up to 1800, and we're already, really close to 1080 performance, right? Mm-hmm. And then you add some driver optimization and stuff like that.
And actually using proper...
tile-based rasterization. Yeah. And also the fact that games will come out that will be more optimized for this, and low-level APIs, we could see some massive stuff. And we know AMD is better at working with low-level APIs to increase performance than NVIDIA.
And then 2 months after this releases, we'll probably get 11 series.
Yeah, which may be Pascal refresh, maybe Volta. I think it would depend. NVIDIA has so much money, they would have the money if they wanted to dump massive amounts of money into Volta to get it out to compete with Vega. Mm-hmm. Vega's not good, but I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to sit on Pascal for a little while, which is kind of
I imagine it's going to be one more year because Volta right now is doing pretty well in the super high-end market.
Yeah, correct.
And in the whole thing with Volta was supposed to be stacked DRAM. That was that was the big improvement from years ago that they talked about. HBM2 still isn't cost effective enough with the yields that they're getting.
Unfortunately.
So I expect that we see Volta probably 2018. With HBM on the higher
I think early
ones.
2018. Like
I think
Q1, end of Q1.
I think Q2.
You think so? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So,
Go ahead.
we'll continue. So yeah, Vega XTX looks like it could be promising. Of course, if it takes water cooling to compete with the 1080 Ti and you can overclock a 1080 Ti to 2 gigahertz, it's like, okay. But still, it's just nice to see that we might get some better performance. It could be a pretty good card. Then, RX Vega XT is going to be an air-cooled variant with only 285 watts. 15 watt drop off compared to the Founders Edition card. Other than that, it's basically the same thing. We could see lower clock speeds, but I doubt we're going to see lower clock speeds. It's probably going to be just the power drop is most likely related to having less HBM. So it's got 8 gigabytes of HBM2 instead of 16 gigabytes of HBM2. That's kind of my thoughts. So anyway, 285 watt TDP, air-cooled, looks to be good. It's basically, I'm guessing it's going to be Frontier Edition with less RAM and perform better, hopefully. Then the Vega XL. This is the one I'm actually really excited for myself. So the Vega XL, if this exists, is going to be a cut-down chip, which we all know yields aren't perfect when it comes to silicon, photolithography on silicon wafers. And so being able to sell a cut-down version of a similar chip is really valuable to a company. So being able to just disable some of the cores, or in this case stream processors, can help them basically profit off of chips that would be garbage otherwise. So they're guessing 3,584 stream processors versus the 4,096 stream processors that is in the current Vega Frontier Edition chip. So that's a pretty significant drop, but if we can get a decent clock speed improvement and not very much power draw, like quite a bit of a power draw improvement as in less power draw, although they're rating the TDP as the same as the standard one, so who knows why that is, but maybe that means like 2 gigahertz clock speed potentially or something. But what I'm excited for about this is it's going to be a lot cheaper. And so even if, say, Vega, the XTX comes out for like $800, including the water cooler, and the Vega XT comes out for like $600, if we're looking at $400 for this Vega XL here, with increased clock speeds, we could actually see like, I guess like above 1070, probably just below 1080 performance for pretty good price. Maybe even $300. It depends. AMD tends to, when they release two chips that are on the same technical chip and they've just disabled some cores, they oftentimes have a massive price difference. So you're paying a hefty premium for the better stuff.
And then you have to remember to pay the cryptocurrency tax. Right,
exactly. So, like, for example, the back when the 7000 series chips was around, or I'll go to something a little newer, like the R9 290X, right? They also had the R9 290. They're the same actual GPU, just with some cores disabled. The 290 was a way better value. That's what I ended up going with back then instead. Right?
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping that this works out and becomes a big thing. Again, it's a leak. Throw the rumor and the salt and everything at it because we don't know for sure. But there's the potential for it being really good. So,
yeah, let's hope. The AMD subreddit is really pessimistic now about Vega ever since the Vega FE.
And I think that's really a false judgment. I understand why people are doing that, but it's like, just wait and chill. Like, I understand people say they can only do so much with drivers, but you have to understand that they're only doing so much with drivers, clock speed improvement, potential RAM speed improvement because they have less HBM on there, so they can potentially clock it higher. Also, games being developed better for it because so newer games as they come out are going to be better for Vega. And then low-level APIs, which we've only seen a little bit of testing with low-level APIs with FE. So with those, 5 things there, we could see up to a 20% improvement is my guess.
Yeah.
So, of course, it could also be a 5% improvement. We don't know. It's just that all hope isn't lost and people need to chill because Raja Kaduri has made it so clear repeatedly, people please don't judge the performance off of Vega FE for RX Vega. It's going to be very different. I have a feeling he's not just saying that. And I hope he's not just saying that. So
we shall see.
We shall see.
You done with Vega?
Yeah, that's it. That's it for Vega.
Okay, so now Qualcomm is trying to get iPhone sales in the US completely banned. They're talking banning importing any new iPhones for Apple and any iPhones that have currently been brought into the country for sale. Not allowed. That's their goal. All of them. Now, normally when we see patent issues come up like this, it's usually on like a generation or two old phone, so it's not that big of a deal. We saw this a lot with Apple and Samsung, HTC and Samsung. Like, I remember at one point, I think the S5 was the current phone out, and Samsung was getting sued with the goal of having the S3 blocked.
Right.
That's pretty normal.
And that's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Right.
It's pretty uncommon that we see this type of thing happening where it's the current device. This is all coming from a patent that Qualcomm claims is non-essential, which means that there's less rules about licensing, pricing requirements, things like that. Essentially what that comes down to is if there's a patent that is necessary for the industry in order to properly work. So, like, let's say somebody had a patent on cellular radios in general, or capacitive touchscreens, pretty much a requirement of the mobile phone industry.
Yeah.
You would be required under...
just switch back to resistive.
Yeah. You'd be required under the federal government guidelines for patents to do some level of fair pricing for the license.
Which makes sense.
And you'd have to be willing to license it. You can't say, no, we have the patent, haha, screw you, we're a monopoly now.
Right, yeah, and that would be a big problem for companies that own things like this.
There's 6 patents as part of this suit pertaining to everything from performance to efficiency to power management. This is all specifically centered around the cellular radio, which is one thing that I'm really, even if these patents are considered non-essential, with Qualcomm effectively having a monopoly on the cellular radio market in the U.S.,
right,
they need to back the hell off anyway.
Yes.
And so Apple tried to move towards a competitor, in this case, Intel, and it's specifically the Intel cellular radio and cellular processor and everything that is the focus of this suit. It's only on the Apple products that have this current new Intel chip. So, like, if they're trying to sell, like, a iPhone 6, I think it should be fine, because I think it's only the iPhone 7 that's affected. I think none of the iPads, except maybe the new Pro, would be affected by this as well.
I think the new Pro
because
would be,
Apple just started using Intel with the iPhone 7, so anything that came out before that, not affected.
Yeah.
But yeah, and to me this indicates, like, isn't Intel the one violating the patent? Shouldn't they be the ones that's the focus of the suit?
I would think,
why
instead
Apple's
of just suing
part
Apple,
of it.
It's a good PR move to sue Apple.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what it is.
Which is ridiculous.
Hey, let's sue Apple. And the thing is, everybody's always suing Apple, and everybody's always suing everybody, but in particular Apple.
It's one thing, though, when Samsung or HTC, who sells phones, a competitor to Apple,
sues them for a patent or something.
For a patent of their... Qualcomm isn't suing their competitor. Their competitor's part of the suit because it's an Intel product, but they're not the main focus. Which doesn't make sense to me.
It's weird. It's weird what they're choosing to do, and it's also kind of BS the reasons they're suing.
If anything, I think the reason they're doing this is because I think this is the only big cellular radio customer for Intel.
Yeah,
and
I believe so.
If Apple, let's say Apple does end up losing the suit somehow, and they're out a lot of money, Intel's, as far as the cellular radio market goes, screwed.
Yeah, that could be true, and I think it's good to be supporting competitors. Yeah. And this is something Intel needs to stay alive, considering all their desktop stuff's going to shit. So, yeah, I don't know. This whole thing started with them slowing down the Qualcomm part, correct?
Huh?
Didn't all this start with them slowing down the Qualcomm part? Apple was slowing down the Qualcomm radio, correct?
To match the speed of their others. That's not even a problem, though.
No, I know that was the start of this feud, not the start of the patent suing and stuff like that.
Yeah, so essentially what Apple did was they tried to say all of our products should function the same. So if there's one part that's better in some chips, we're going to bring it to the same level so that no customer feels out of luck because of randomness.
Right.
It's like when you have Samsung, because of the lack of Sony sensors available, will commonly source Sony and Samsung sensors. Now, thankfully, the Samsung one is pretty comparable and in some cases even better to the Sony one, there's no like major difference between them, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's not very noticeable. But if there was,
yeah, and
that
we've
wouldn't
seen
be a good idea. Well, the same thing happens with their processors.
Mm-hmm.
They don't offer the Exynos processors here in America for a reason. They don't want to create competition amongst themselves.
Well, that's actually more importantly because of you'd have to have the Qualcomm radio for most LTE.
Right, correct.
Intel only recently even became an option.
Yeah,
So,
right. And so it's like Qualcomm's been being a monopoly.
Yes.
And it's frustrating when companies are being monopolies.
And they're trying to sue someone who bought a product from a competitor in order to keep their monopoly position.
Yeah.
That's simply what
this
this
is.
is.
Shitty. It's just shitty. So, I mean, I guess, yeah. See, I'd be okay if they were suing Intel because they deserve it.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, look, if Intel violated the patent, they violated the patent.
Right, correct.
Go
but
after
you go
Intel.
after Intel. You don't go after Apple. But the whole feud started with Apple because Apple didn't want to create internal competition, because otherwise there would be a whole bunch of Intel iPhones on eBay and shit because people want to upgrade to the Qualcomm one because it's better, even though there's no real world performance difference, because you're not going to get, even if there was 100 megabit difference in the LTE performance of them, for example, you're still looking at faster than any fucking carrier provides.
Yeah.
So, but it would still create competition because people are incompetent. And people would be like, I gotta have this one. And so, like, even at the Apple store, they would look for the model number, be like, oh, this model number is the one with the Intel one. Can you grab me one with the Qualcomm chip?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they have all these Intel ones that aren't selling.
Yeah. So this isn't coming from the Intel Qualcomm slowing down thing. This actually comes from where the Federal Trade Communication earlier this year began suing Qualcomm for anti-competitive practices. What are the odds? And then after that happened, Apple filed its own lawsuit alleging the same thing, with Apple claiming one of the big things is, with the current situation is they're claiming Qualcomm is charging disproportionately high fees for the use of their patents, and abusing their position as a market leader, because realistically, if you're supplying a lot of iPhones, you have to deal with Qualcomm.
Yeah, and that's the other side of the argument, is Apple just said, hey, we're not going to pay you. And they had this agreement, and whether the agreement's unreasonable or not, they had the agreement. And so that's why it's a two-sided argument. So that's kind of where all the stuff... I think it all, in my eyes, kind of started with the whole slowing it down. Qualcomm got pissed off. And so then Qualcomm started taking action and started trying to find other avenues to get after Apple for. But, I mean, it's understandable when you're charging completely unreasonable license fees and there's no way for them to avoid it, because they get a certain percentage. Unlike a lot of license fees, from what I remember, unlike a lot of license fees where you pay like a flat rate, hey, whether you produce 100,000 or 20 million of this device, you pay this rate, flat fee for the licensing fee. Instead, it's a percentage of each iPhone. So each iPhone, Apple wants to make more profit, of course, and each iPhone, a good amount of the money goes straight to Qualcomm.
Yeah.
And so Apple's like, this is fucking ridiculous and annoying. And there are two sides to the argument. At one point, it's a little bit maybe unreasonable of Qualcomm, but then it's also like, hey, you had an agreement, and you also already make enough of a profit. You can afford to pay us what we've been getting paid.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, it's a fun one. So we're going to outsource here in just a moment, and we're gonna outsource to our moderator sitting behind the camera.
Yeah.
So our moderator is going to stop moderating, even though he has been doing a really shitty job because he's too busy cleaning his phone the whole time.
Yeah, there hasn't been a chat comment other than us in a while.
He's going to come talk about some interesting things. So get over here. Get over here. I don't know. You might want to bring your chair over here, but you have to be kind of close to the mic, too.
I mean, I need a computer so
you could just get up.
I could just get up, or you could just get up.
But I'm going to be talking about the Overwatch League stuff.
Yeah.
More than you will. More than you would.
That's okay.
And you can moderate your chat.
That's okay. I will. I am leaving for a moment, guys. I hope it doesn't cause cancer and everybody doesn't leave. I know I'm the most important subject here.
It's okay,
yeah, it's like when Linus leaves and then the viewer numbers skyrocket.
Woo! Yeah, right. No. Okay, anyway, though, so we're going to have our outsourced buddy here, Calvin, talk about a few esports related things. So I got to scroll to that section for you. Come on in. Hello.
Hi, everybody. My name's Calvin. So basically, I'm here today to talk about a couple things that are going on in the realm of internet, more or less. So basically, the first topic I wanted to talk about is, you might be a little bit confused why we're going to talk about real sports here in just a second.
It's K.
But
it's K.
It has actual internet-based backgrounds, more or less. So FanDuel's and DraftKings, for those of you who don't know what those are, they're websites where you can go on and, for the most part, so what you can do on those websites is you can go in, find your favorite sports team, make a draft of whatever sports team you want, basically, and bet on them. So it's basically unregulated internet gambling based around sports. Mm-hmm. So there's a common background knowledge for everyone to get behind. So FanDuel and DraftKings are the two biggest names in this industry. They control to combine total, about 90% of the market in just online internet gambling. So basically what they're going to do is they were going to be performing a merger. Well, unfortunately, the Federal Trade Commission struck that down. They said, no way, because that would give them a lock on 90% of sports gambling market. So what's going to happen from there is, right now, they're just kind of... The FanDuel CEO spoke out. The original article is on Recode. They're going to be speaking out whether they're going to try and fight this deal or whether or not they're just going to completely scrap the idea of them combining and just go their separate ways. So the reason why they were originally talking about merging in the first place is because if you guys remember back a couple years ago, you couldn't watch television without seeing an ad for DraftKings or FanDuel's between anything.
Or YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Everything had an ad for FanDuel. They always just showed, a couple guys in a bar, and then they would just... One of them would wind up winning $1 million out of a huge prize pool for the Super Bowl or something. Now, mind you, that was one person a year. And right now, I believe the latest numbers show about 57 million people participated last year in just online gambling of sports gambling. And so, 57 million people, assuming all of them even participate just $1 in that, that's $57 million. So to put up $1 million prize pool, that's kind of nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. And so the problem with these companies is that they invested heavily in marketing, and they just started targeting everybody. They targeted, low-income communities, everybody they could possibly target, and from there it just kind of spiraled out of control. And so now they're starting to run out of money. They wanted to do a merger. Merger, shut up. And so the FTC said no, and so that's basically kind of all that's really happening at this point.
It reminds me of Time Warner and Comcast.
Exactly.
When they wanted to merge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except Time Warner and Comcast were profitable and not stupid about their profitability.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is true. This is true.
Like,
I hope they can hear me, too. I don't know if the mic will pick me up, but I'm yelling. So.
I remember, though, with DraftKings in specific, one of the ways that they burnt a lot of money was having fantasy leagues that were free to enter with actual prize money.
Yeah. That was...
how to burn your money. Have daily competitions where you give away money with taking in nothing.
That is something that was kind of an issue. Granted, it was just a small amount of money. It didn't burn through too much, especially compared to how much they were raking in by just bringing people in. It's just... Yeah. Sure, you have... Say you have, a 1,000-person pool that... And these are dailies. You have 1,000 people. Say 200 of those are just new customers. Well, that's 200 new people that you're bringing onto the website. If only 5 of those guys contribute $1, I mean, that's already paid for that pool in itself, basically, because these pools were very minuscule in how much they were paying out.
A couple $100.
Some of them, but those were not really the dailies. Those were kind of like the weeklies or like whenever there was a big event going on. And so, basically, what would happen is, they would just open it up free to play. They would claim it was free to play, and then it really turned out not to be free to play once you wanted to start actually playing. And the biggest problem with it especially is it's such an expensive sort of thing. It's just, you assume it's like, oh, yeah. Yeah,
like one example, Philip DeFranco did a lot of ads for them. And he enjoyed participating in them. But, like, one of them was, like, $1,000 prize, or $1,000 in prizes on DraftKings for just people that watched him.
Exactly, and so that's how they attracted a lot of customers, is they could market out to, people, huge YouTubers, anybody who just wrote articles, because people didn't understand when they were first starting up and when they were just starting to get big, how big of a spiral this kind of was, and that's where it kind of leads into more of an internet topic, just in terms of, unregulated online gambling. Your mind just doesn't understand how much you're spending when you go online and spend virtual currency out of your bank account, because it's real money, and so you just kind of think to yourself, oh no, it's just I have 5 credits instead of $5. So you've already spent that $5, it's already there, so it's like, oh, well, I mean, if I lose it, I didn't technically lose it, I already technically lost it.
Yeah.
And a lot of other problems were if you tried to buy yourself out, you would have to wait several days to get your buyout because they would have to sell any whatever it was that they had invested into. They would have to find a way to sell your credits, or quote-unquote credits. Yeah. I remember, not last year, but about beginning of the year, there was a esports gambling site called Alpha Draft, which had everybody in the esport market. You know, if you went on a League of Legends YouTuber, WoW YouTuber, any YouTuber around video gaming, you would see them marketing Alpha Draft, which was you could go bet on your favorite League of Legends pro players or your CSGO players. And they would have, you know, free daily pools, weekly pools, every time any game was happening. And then, you know, back in October, whenever the esports culmination happens, is when they would just blow up and just make a ton of income. And so that's what I assume is going to happen with DraftKings and FanDuel's. You know, beginning of the year when sports are kind of dead, you know, their income's really short. But then once August and October hit, when every sport happens to be going on at the same time, they're going to be rolling in that money. And so it's kind of interesting to see FTC shut this down, and hopefully we'll see more regulation, I guess, in terms of this, because it's just, I think it's a bit obscene that it can grow to this extent. I mean, Las Vegas casinos are regulated so heavily, but then you can just go online and spend $1 million with no punishment, I guess, without lack of a better term, and then, you know, you don't have to claim it on your taxes either because it's not technical income or winning bonuses. Yeah. So that's another huge issue with that, but that's pretty much the end of that one. Next topic I want to talk about, this one's pretty big if you're into esports, if you love Overwatch. I know a lot of people do. Apparently 40 million people do. Overwatch League, this morning there was an announcement of at least 7 teams that have purchased into the Overwatch League. Now, for those of you who don't know what Overwatch League is, it's basically, if you've ever watched real sports,
NFL, NBA.
Exactly. They have real teams. The city sponsors a team. So, like, for instance, we live in Oregon, so Oregon has the Portland Trailblazers, our basketball team. So the city of Portland not the city of Portland, a independent owner owns the basketball team, the Trailblazers.
They're Portland-based.
Portland-based. So that's what Overwatch League is basically, but around Overwatch. So we have 7 teams that were announced today. So we have Immortal CEO Noah Winston, who purchased in. We have the NRG CEO.
See, Winston bought it, and we all know why.
Exactly, because he's in the game.
Yeah.
He wanted to own himself finally.
Yeah, exactly. I could buy it myself.
Exactly, and then we have NRG, who, if you guys don't know who NRG is, one of their most famous backers, Shaquille O'Neal. Even if you don't watch sports, you know Shaquille O'Neal's name because he's in everything nowadays. They bought into the Overwatch League. We have Misfits, kind of up and coming. They just started about a year ago, but they were recently purchased by the Miami Heat, the famous National Basketball Association team. Those are the main esports organizations that purchased in. Then we have 2 quite surprising newcomers into the field. We have the New England Patriots CEO purchased the Boston spot. So we have an official licensed sports team, New England Patriots. You know, I believe they were the Super Bowl champions this year. They decided the CEO decided to buy in on this, and then as well the New York Mets CEO decided to buy in the other spot. So those are the 5 U.S.-based teams. Then we have 2 from the Southeastern Asia region. We have Kevin Chow, who owns Caban Mobile Gaming. It's kind of a unknown sort of thing. They're famous for making, I believe it was the Marvel game. Let me double check that real quick. As far as I'm aware, he was famous for making that. Yeah, Marvel Contest of Champions. And then NetEase is the other team that bought one. They're primarily known for in the West for distributing Blizzard games in China, so they're basically just kind of a third party between Blizzard and Chinese gaming, because China has a lot of regulations on buying games and basically doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, for a while, consoles were completely banned.
Exactly. And so just trying to get access to that, you all basically need a separate company for that.
Yeah.
China!
Exactly. That's okay.
I know what he was going for.
Yeah.
His favorite person.
Right.
China. And so, basically, the regions that we have, Immortals is going to have Los Angeles. NRG, I believe it was San Francisco, you said? I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Yeah, San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. He's going to have the Seoul team, which is Seoul's biggest city in South Korea. And then, as far as we can tell, NetEase is going to have...
Are you serious?
What happened?
Yeah. The hell happened? It says I'm on air.
No, we're definitely live.
You're live?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a glitch. Okay, my bad. All right,
No,
I saw a
dude.
live stream offline back here.
Huh? Oh, now it's circling. I don't know. Oh,
Now
no,
it's
there you
back.
go. Yeah.
Okay, we're
That's
back.
weird. All right, we're having issues. I apologize if any disconnection
Ethan just
happened.
really wanted. He was like going through withdrawal from not being on camera for 30 seconds.
I know. I gotta be on camera all the time. I gotta film everything. No, I don't know what that was.
Ethan's
weird.
gonna start
Okay.
like live streaming it from his bedroom just 24/7.
Hey, just like Swifty,
Dude, Swifty.
24/7 live stream in my entire house.
Yeah.
He knew it was up for like 2 years, and then he stopped being funny and being good at games.
Anyway, okay. Well, we're back to the news. I'm sorry. I saw the live stream go down, so hopefully nothing got missed.
All good. So basically, yeah, those are the teams that are controlling those regions. Interesting. So the buy-in for this, it was speculated a couple months ago that in order to be able to even participate in the Overwatch League, it was going to be at least $15 million just to be able to get a spot in it. Not even to... There was no guarantee that this was going to work out. I mean, right now it's looking a lot more promising, especially considering, you know, we have Immortals, NRG, Misfits, the Patriots, the New York Mets. We have South Korea that's officially in this, so I mean, that's going to be a huge market. And so, from what we can tell, all the speculation, people paid about $20 million to buy in. Now, of course, it's going to change and vary based on the region, but that's from speculation on sources from ESPN Esports. That's about the average that people wound up paying to get in. And so, what we're kind of speculating at this point, because that's all we've learned today, is just basically, you know, people bought in, here it is. So what I was kind of just curious because NRG, Misfits, and Immortals currently own Overwatch Contenders team. Overwatch Contenders is the current kind of season tournaments that are going on right now that are hosted by Blizzard themselves. And so I'm kind of racking my brain around how they're going to run this because from what we're reading here, the Score Esports said that from a Blizzard press release basically said that there's going to be no draft system right now. It's just going to be open season for everything. It's going to be open season on everything. And so Misfits, I believe it was Misfits, that was the first one to come out and officially say, I'm going to get to it real quick. Yeah, so Misfits, you know, partnered with Miami Heat. They're basically, their plan is to take their current Overwatch Contenders team and put that into the Overwatch League. And so that's what makes me think what's going to happen to the Overwatch Contenders. Is Overwatch Contenders just going to disappear? Is it going to become, you know, the new minor league, I guess, in this situation for Overwatch? But if it does become the minor leagues, is Misfits still allowed to own a controlling portion, I guess, in that team? Because then would there be some form of conflict of interest in terms of trying to get back out to the majors? Because then you could just feed players up and down depending on skill. You know, bad week, it's like, all right, well, let's bring someone up from the minors. You know, it's just kind of conflict of interest in terms of that. That's, I know, a couple years ago, if you guys watch League of Legends, South Korea, North America, and EU, Europe, had big issues with sister teams in Essentia. So, like, SKT, South Korea Telecommunications, had a huge issue where they had two of the best League of Legends teams in the world, just period. And so they could just, if they needed to, swap in and out players, but then finally Riot Games did something about that, shut that down, no more sister teams in the same bracket. But then you have the Challenger League, which, you know, you could still feed players in and out of that. And so that's where I'm kind of, I guess, more or less concerned about what's going to happen in terms of that. So I'm not really sure yet, but it's all pretty much speculation up at this point.
Yeah.
So
This is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
It's also going to be interesting to see how long they can get or keep Overwatch going. I mean, it's MOBAs are one thing. FPS games, how many of them, like, sure, Counter-Strike is still played.
yeah,
Other
but I
than
mean,
that, how many FPSs are played for more than a year or two?
I don't think any
Exactly.
of them are actually competitive enough, though, and balanced enough for it to work out. You know, the reason that COD and stuff like that tend to fail is just because they're garbage.
Well,
Well,
CS:GO
another
will
reason-
stay
make new
around
ones every
because
year.
it's balanced,
Yeah.
because it's good.
COD makes new ones every year.
That's why-
Well, right.
But let's look at any other FPS, unless you're telling me there's no other balanced FPSs. How many of them actually get played for more than, let's say, 2 years?
It's really hard to balance an FPS, and that's
I know,
part of
I
why.
know.
That's part of why
But then-
I would argue that there's very few other balanced FPSs, and even then, the balancing of Overwatch compared to the balancing of CS:GO, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Especially
Overwatch is nowhere near as balanced as CS:GO. CS:GO is as balanced as you can pretty much get.
I feel like that's biased. I would completely disagree with that. I feel like there are more options available in a game like CS:GO, so that way, if...
But there's less options because you're not balancing different abilities. It's all it is a matter of how much spread on the weapon, and a matter of how accurate
in
the weapon
Overwatch,
is.
there's as many options as there are characters, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Right, but then you have this huge variety. You don't have these different guns that all do the same thing effectively, and they're just shooting different. It's easier to balance.
Yeah, but then you also have to balance around equipment. So, like, say, 1 week... Because then, as well, you have other sort of mechanics in CS:GO. So, like, CS:GO, you have... you can shoot bullets through walls, not even effectively, literally. You can shoot them through walls, and then you have to consider bullet drop on that.
There isn't bullet drop in CS:GO, actually.
If you shoot through a wall, a bullet will start going down.
I don't believe CS:GO has bullet drop.
It's not bullet drop, technically. It's just when you shoot through a wall, the bullet will drop a little bit.
Okay. Anyway, go ahead and continue. Anyway, Overwatch, I think it's going to stick around, though. I do.
Yeah.
I hope it sticks around. I feel like, because a game like CS:GO is able to work because they're constantly putting out updates. It's not like Call of Duty where, like, when they dropped, what was the last one? Advanced Warfare 2 or Black Ops 3?
Infinite Warfare.
Infinite Warfare. They don't release patches for it. They just,
unless it's a bug fix.
They do for a few months.
Yeah, they'll do it, but, I mean, things remain unbalanced and unchecked for several months at a time.
Sometimes they make the balancing worse.
Exactly.
That's how bad they are.
And then
they charge you for guns.
Yes.
And then they'll just turn around in 12 months and just release a whole nother game, making the previous one just useless.
Yeah.
And so then you have to consider rebalancing around an entirely new game with an entirely new set of guns, which is why Call of Duty is harder to follow into, because, somebody who is good in Call of Duty Ghost is terrible in Advanced Warfare.
Right. Well, more people play Black Ops 3 than Infinite Warfare now, too. So that's a funny thing, is we're starting to have this on PC. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're having this like they're coming out so often and making such shit games. People are sticking with the older ones more now.
Yeah, and as well, another problem with the FPS genre in general is just cross-platform. Most people who play FPS games are generally the console player. It's just kind of where they've grown up on. You Call of Duty, Battlefield. They've always been designed around console, and then they just came to PC to help curb that, that genre of people who were like, all right, here you go, but the game's still balanced around people turning with a joystick instead of with a mouse and keyboard with precision accuracy.
I would argue that, well, CS:GO definitely, but I would even say Overwatch is probably more built for the PC than consoles, though. And it's the first time that's happened, I guess. So. Yeah,
and that's what I think is going to help be able to propel it into
Yeah, so I guess I'm agreeing with you, not arguing with you.
Yeah. But I think that's what's going to help it not just stay, kind of up there, but help move it up and keep it going for the several years. And say Overwatch one day does just start dying, I mean, Blizzard literally pumped out Overwatch over the course of a couple of months because Project Titan failed. That is the only reason we have Overwatch. If you guys don't know what Project Titan is, it was supposed to be the quote-unquote WoW killer for Blizzard Activision. Never happened, obviously, because it just, from interviews with the developers behind Project Titan, they just said the game wasn't fun, and so they had to scrap it. I think it was about a year before Overwatch officially released, and before they started dropping the teaser trailers and everything, and they're like, alright, what are we going to do? Let's just pump this out real quick, hope it works. Jeff the Captain Kaplan pulled it out of his ass. What a man. Let us all praise unto him, Jeff the Captain. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Overwatch League, not much happened today, but from what we've also heard, they said about a week or so ago they were going to have, Blizzard officially was going to put out scouting reports, which is kind of huge because that's Blizzard themselves ranking players beyond just the top 500 of the ranking system.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you have, like, well, maybe this guy's really good on console, but he sucks on PC. Maybe this guy's really good on PC, but he sucks on console. And then you're going to have issues of, because I know Call of Duty right now, the last tournament I watched at least, was played on Xbox 3 or Xbox One. And so, is Overwatch going to host tournaments for PC players and Xbox players or PS4 players?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's going to become an issue over the coming years, but I feel like eventually it's just going to settle down. It's like, all right, this is what we're going to play on. I feel like for Overwatch League is going to be PC just because Blizzard is a PC company first.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And especially, but with Activision merging with them, that's where I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, Activision's more centered around the consoles. They've always been like that, and it's just like
this is gonna be PC. There's no way it's.
Yeah, at least
they have COD for their console competitive game. The other big thing though that I wanted to bring up with this is when we look at the potential for earnings. When it comes to advertisers, the key demographic for them is the 18 to 34.
Yeah.
18-year-olds especially, like the lower end of that, which means that by the time this really picks up and is popular, the middle range of that is going to be people, millennials, who are much more interested in a lot of cases, esports than actual sports.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at, this is according to Blizzard, who knows how accurate these numbers are, but they're saying a share of millennials 2 to 3 times higher than any of the big 4 U.S. sports.
Yeah, and that was also shown. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before that. The League of Legends World Championship, I believe it was the one held at the Staples Center, so I believe it was last year's, had more viewers than the NBA Championship Finals.
Yep.
And, I mean, granted, you have to skew those numbers because the League of Legends World Championship is free to watch, whereas you have to pay to watch the NBA or through a cable package of some form.
Yeah.
So you can kind of up and down for inflation on that, but it's still kind of showing, people are leaning into this. But then you have the issue with Overwatch where it's kind of difficult to really watch. There's a lot happening constantly.
I feel like they need a better in-game, or a better system for casters to use.
I think that, but I think the issue as well is just the game is so... This is kind of like a compliment, but at the same time the game is so visually stunning. There's always just something happening. Bullets are just lighting up. Bullets constantly have lighting effects. There's so much lighting effects. There's so much visual depth. There's so much visually happening that it's hard for someone to watch that and see what's actively happening. You can watch a Tracer throw a pulse bomb and then a D.Va eat it, but you don't know if the Tracer actually threw the pulse bomb and the D.Va ate it, or if the pulse bomb got through. If it didn't go through, it's kind of hard to see all that through the perspective of one player or through third-person perspective.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. So I'm not sure if they're going to have something in store for us when the Overwatch League officially comes out. I hope they do, because I just want a new visual client. And if you need someone, call me. Yeah. One topic I want to touch on real quick before I leave. This is something that I just threw in while these guys were talking. So basically, internet service providers are not the nicest people. We all know that. That's
no way.
Yeah, I know, right? They're totally fighting for the freedom of the internet.
They're rated at the top of the customer service list. They're rated at the top 4
if you flip it
for the
down.
worst.
Exactly. So, for those of you guys who don't know, for any of you who've ever called in and asked for a quote on anything, sales representative might have lied to you. It's like, hey, how much is my cell phone bill going to be this month? It's like, oh, it'll be $30. You get it's $35 or something like that. It might be a little bit off. It happens. You have to take into account several different variables. It's just hard to give you a strong number. Well, CenturyLink right now is facing a class action lawsuit seeking up to $12 billion for fraud amongst representatives misquoting consumers.
That's more than the EU's charging Google.
Exactly. And the worst part is, for those of you who don't know, CenturyLink just recently had a merger with Level 3 for $34 billion.
They're
so
broke.
That's
They're
literally
already tiny.
a third of that. Now, granted, it's up to $12 billion. The minimum I saw was $600 million. So there's a lot of variance in that. It's just basically, people called in, they asked for a quote from CenturyLink. People were told, oh yeah, it'll be $15 a month, because CenturyLink is relatively
CenturyLink's market cap is only $13.4 billion.
They're gonna go bankrupt. But no, CenturyLink is relatively known for having a lower priced internet service for slower speeds, because that's just kind of what they've always been known for. They're more...
They do have gigabit in some areas, finally.
They do have gigabit, yes. But
here they offer up to 12 megabit.
Yes, up to 12 megabit, guys. Competition. Whereas Comcast is all you can get around here. You can go for Fios, but it sucks.
Yeah, pretty much in Portland, in the Portland metro area, unless you live in downtown Portland, you're pretty screwed on options.
Yeah, and so CenturyLink right now, people would call in, the representatives would say, oh yeah, it's $15 a month, and then they would get their bill would be $35. I believe one example here that I was reading, this was by Bloomberg. somebody had called in, asked for a quote. They were told it would be about $35 to $50 a month. You know, giving them a little bit of breathing room there for taxes, surcharges, whatever sort of fees. They got their first bill and it was $380. No overages, nothing like that, just $380 because America. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. This is just kind of popping up. Hopefully, you know, this starts putting people into a place where, you know, they need to understand that they can't just throw around numbers. You know, giving someone a quote is important. That's what, you know, I mean, me and Daniel here, we know how to do this because we used to work for a cell phone company. So we know how to actually math out what a bill is going to be no matter what somebody tells us. We know how to prorate. Whereas, you know, if my grandma called into CenturyLink and asked how much her bill is going to be this month, I would hope that somebody knows how to tell her how much that bill is going to be.
Yeah.
And not just free range of like, oh, it'll be $15. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I have 3 routers and I got like 16 gigabit down. What?
Yeah. And we also had to deal with the other end of that where we had to fix the mess of specifically sales most of the time.
Yeah.
Whether it's stores or over-the-phone sales. Giving completely incorrect pricing or not counting or explaining proration, especially to new customers.
Exactly.
Fun times.
It's just, there's a...
Or every plan change because Sprint has to announce a plan every 3 months to keep up with T-Mobile.
undisclosed third-party cell phone company that we worked for.
Oh, I've already talked about it being Sprint before on streams.
Oh, well,
I don't care.
Yeah, we signed an NDA, but anyways.
I didn't.
Oh, I did. I didn't work for them, technically.
And the NDA was about the information. It wasn't stating that you can't say you don't work for them. Because everyone...
That's what mine said, actually.
Really?
I read mine, like, hella hard.
Everyone in Portland knows that call center is Sprint.
Yeah. But, anyways, that's pretty much where that's leading, so hopefully something happens with it. Hopefully by this time, either next year or the year after that, hopefully by 2020 at least, we live in a world where things are more, I guess, honest about what they're going to be. It's
Actually,
hard to...
at the current rate, 2020 will be the next net neutrality fight because the last one was 2014, was the last major one.
So 3 years every time, 3 years. Let's go. Net neutrality, save the internet. I'm taking off. Thank you guys so much.
Give me my share back. Come on,
Thank you
man.
guys so much for watching me.
Get up. Get
Have a
up.
good
Nobody wanted you here anyway.
I did.
Why?
Because he's cool.
Oh.
Sometimes he's annoying.
Periodically. No. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm back. I know the show's good again. No, that was fun. That was fun having him on.
Speaking of net neutrality, go to battleforthenet.com right now.
Yes. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. So, I had something I wanted to do involving this guy here. We're going to do a live unboxing.
Of an old card.
We're going to do a live unboxing of an already opened old 8400.
I'm going to do a live
GS.
unlock of my phone.
Whoa, dude, that's dope. No, I actually wanted to just kind of show where we've come, GPU wise. So it advertises PhysX on the box, and NVIDIA GeForce CUDA is 512 megabytes of memory, DDR2. That's pretty impressive, and it actually has DVI. It's not just VGA. It's a GeForce 8400 GS. Get a good look at that, guys. Get a good look at that. 8400 GS. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. You gonna hold it up close? You gonna hold it up close? Beauty. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and open this. I wanted to do this real quick. So we've got a driver CD, which normally I would throw away, but with old cards, people actually use them, so I'm gonna keep it.
What's a driver CD?
Yeah, right?
No,
Okay.
seriously.
Then
Oh, God.
we've got the GPU. So first thing I noticed, the beautiful green PCB, which nobody uses anymore.
In fact,
Oh.
I just saw a Reddit post asking why nobody uses green PCBs anymore.
They're beautiful, though.
No,
Why?
they're not.
Oh, man, they're gorgeous.
They're beautifully ugly.
They're
That's
beautifully
what I
ugly.
want my computer to light up. The green.
Wait, does this have an HDMI? No
Bullshit.
way.
No.
HDMI 1. What?
There's an
my
HDMI.
God.
Oh my goodness! It didn't even advertise. It advertises DVI and VGA on the box. Like
HDMI.
nobody even cared about HDMI. It was an added-on thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, beautiful fan there. I don't even know if this card works. Hopefully it does. It's gonna be for my free NAS at some point. But
No. We all know that's for your gaming PC.
right, this is what I'm gonna game on from now on.
All 1 FPS.
Can it play Crysis? Technically.
Until
It can launch.
It'll launch the game without crashing immediately.
And then it'll catch on fire.
And then it will either catch on fire or not play. Anyway, I just wanted to show you guys old cards are beautiful. Hey, can you hold that up? Hold that up there. Don't worry about grabbing anything on it. I don't care if it gets broken or not. I'm not even sure if it is broken. So, my buddy found this in a closet and was like, "Here you go. I found this GPU. You can have it." So,
yeah,
which is fine. I mean, if it functions, especially, that's great. And if not, it's a great art piece. But,
yeah. Meanwhile, the oldest GPU I have is I found a 580.
Yeah. We see the oldest GPU I had was a 250 GTS, and then I got this.
Wow.
So, yeah, my 250 GTS is what runs my server, so, which is fine. It works. It functions.
You need a 1030.
A 1030, right.
Yeah, they have them.
I know. So, anyway, wanted to go ahead and show you guys that. It's just kind of fun to see, I feel like. Yeah.
Cool. Let's get through these last couple of topics, and we'll be all set. Logitech, the just in general peripheral company, is buying Astro, the gaming headset company.
Which is good. Astro is the only other, one of the only other quality gaming headset manufacturers, especially for consoles.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that this entire deal is, the goal is Logitech will be their PC brand, and Astro will be the console brand.
Uh-huh.
So pretty much nothing changes except the owner.
And, I'm kind of okay with it. I mean, it's a little bit, it is reducing the competition in a sense, but at the same time, they weren't really competing, yeah. So
Astro has PC support, but it's more of a side thing than a
correct, and the other way around with Logitech.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see this together. I actually do like this, and it's cool to see Logitech making an acquisition of a good company and being smart. I like how Logitech, when they rebranded themselves and all that stuff, it was kind of they said we're going to be more of an art-based company, like design and stuff like that. But then they kept the technical side of it with the gaming portion, and now adding Astro to that. So they weren't really getting rid of anything. They were just kind of changing their image, and I think they did a good job of that when they did all that.
Yeah.
So anyway, what's the price of this wonderful deal?
$85 million all cash. Well,
that's
essentially
impressive.
all actual money. Huh?
Yes.
The keyboards.
Yes.
So it's beautiful.
Can we get some Astro keyboards for console?
No, they need to be a little pad.
It'll plug into the bottom of the PS3 controller.
Right, and it's just a full-size keyboard plugged into the bottom of the controller. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah. No, I need a flip-out keyboard for my Switch.
With mirrors.
I love it. With mirrors. With mirrors on it so you can see the reversed text.
Yes. In a week, most of you can see that online as Tech Tips.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So good.
So sad.
Yeah.
Cool.
Makes me cry. Now this one is actually one I'm excited about in a way.
Yeah.
Red. Yes. Red, the company that, makes those, $50,000 camera bodies.
Is making a smartphone that costs $1,200 to $1,600.
Now keep in mind, that sounds ridiculous, but then you start to go, wait a second. The Galaxy S8's $850.
Well, keep in mind, though, this is pre-order only price.
Right, and I get that. But
my guess is it's going to be...
Probably even more.
I'm thinking 14 and 18.
But still,
yeah.
When you think about double the price, depending on what it can do, might not be as ridiculous as it sounds. Now, 6 years ago, people would be like, that's insane.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, so I'll go over a couple things really quick.
No specs.
Yeah.
No specs.
It's a 2018 release date. It is a modular phone, so there's essentially going to be more modular like the Moto Z, where there's pogo pins and attachments. Which I'll have to talk about that more in a second, because there's something cool there. There's also, though, custom audio algorithms for handling stereo to surround audio. And supposedly it's better. We'll see. And then it's red, so let's be real. It's going to have a good camera.
If the phone's not red, I'm going to be disappointed.
It's not. There's a picture of it. It's black.
What?
It's got the
red.
red.
Red has a lot of stuff that's not red.
Red
Why?
has almost everything is not red.
That's like the KSC phone now having the Karen Sanders on the back.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll talk about that later.
Now, though, with all that said, so they're using some kind of new tech for their screen, and they're having some kind of 3D.
Yeah, and so I'm guessing they're not using a parallax barrier if it's a new kind, which is how the 3DS and like the old like HTC 3D phones were. Is they basically split the horizontal pixels in half.
Yeah, and that's my guess is that their goal is to not have it split pixels.
Yeah, because you're splitting the resolution is what you end up doing. So that's why the 3DS has such a weird resolution. Yeah. It's twice as wide in resolution as it needs to be, because when you turn on the 3D, it puts an actual physical angled barrier in between the pixels. And what that allows it to do is while it's tracking your eyes, it can adjust those barriers too, is each eye only sees half the pixels.
Yeah.
And so that's how you get the 3D effect, is you actually get two separate angles. So you're actually getting, in a sense, two screens, one for each eye. But that reduces resolution. It's not the best way to do it, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm interested in seeing this. They're calling it holographic, too.
Yeah, now, what I'm thinking that's coming from it, my guess, is they're going to use some kind of tech like what was on the Fire phone that allowed you to do tracking so that it looked like objects had depth within the phone.
Right.
But if they combined that with 3D, it could move properly based off of where you're at, where you're looking, but be 3D, so it looks to you, looking at it straight on, at least, like a hologram.
It looks like a hologram. That's doable. That is doable. So I actually, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
And like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of chances for them to screw this phone up. How many times has Red launched a product that's been a screw up?
Never.
Yeah, I can't.
Literally never. I mean, you of course have to go. How many times have they launched a product that's not a screw up? That's a value product? Never.
But this isn't really a value.
No, it's not. Yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying is, when you have a $55,000 camera body, it better not be a screw up. Yeah. So in that sense, I mean, who knows? This is something, obviously, it's not cheap.
Yes.
So, again, it's probably going to be it's not a screw up. You just got to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I'm actually hoping that this comes out and ends up being like one of the best smartphones ever, period. It's just expensive.
Yeah.
Now I like that idea. I like the same thing with Red cameras.
Yeah. Another thing, though, that I wanted to bring up that's extremely important in this, there is a patent image that got put out online that's absolutely insane. So it's going over some of their modularity, and essentially you'd be able to attach everything you could think of as far as camera attachments onto this thing, and just what I'm imagining that they're going to be doing with this is making it so that the phone itself can be run as the processing unit for a higher end camera that attaches.
Well, they did actually say that you can connect it directly to the Red cameras.
Well, and on top of that, though, based off of these patents, you'll be able to attach an entirely separate, better camera.
Right, and it basically ends up being the controller and the screen and stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, though, if you can spend, say, $1,400 on what is your smartphone as well as your processing unit for your Red camera, so your Red camera ends up costing you $10,000 instead of $50,000.
Yeah, it could work that way.
Like if that worked, if you end up splitting it amongst that way, you get a smartphone and a Red camera for like half the price of a Red camera.
And with that, you would have the ability to get some level of extra features by upgrading the phone rather than having to upgrade the entirety of the $50,000 camera body.
I really like this idea. Of course, I'm assuming the phone itself is going to have a great built-in camera, too.
Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting to see.
If it doesn't, I will be shocked.
Yeah. If it does, and I can afford it, and it's actually a good phone in other aspects, I might get it and use it as a B camera.
If it does have a great camera, I will find a way to afford it.
Yeah. I'm excited for this.
I will sell Calvin's liver.
When all of a sudden iPhone drops an even better phone.
I'm going to get both.
No.
You don't know that yet.
The iPhone is not going to be better than this.
You don't know that yet.
When it comes to camera especially.
Fake news.
Wrong!
So you need to put a clarifier on that, though. The iPhone would be better for just point and shoot. Yeah. The Red would be better for...
well, potentially. The Red might still be better for point and shoot. It might be you open it up and it takes the best pictures of any smartphone ever quickly, and has custom options to do special stuff.
I mean, at $1,200 to $1,600, it should.
It should be great.
I feel like it's going to be it's more designed around camera hardcore enthusiasts than the just average point and shoot of an iPhone.
Right. And
who's going to drop $1,200 on a Red phone and just do point and shoot.
Right. No, and I think that this phone is going to be kind of hitting either one of two areas. It's either going to be an incredibly good smartphone with a good camera that also can attach to all of Red's equipment, or it's going to be a not so good smartphone with an incredibly good camera that can attach to all of Red's equipment,
and
even in a
holographic display.
Yes, and potentially I could even see it being in a way where the sensor in it's so good it becomes your main sensor, and Red has attachments for it to turn it into more of like a DSLR, type of design.
Or is it going to be the worst phone of 2017?
Well, it could be the worst phone
ever.
Since
how it comes out in 2018, it probably will be a pretty bad phone this year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I hate you.
Speaking of phones, there was one other a leak this week that I wanted to talk about. The new Pixel XL. You should pull this up and check it out.
Okay.
So what we're seeing is, first off, smaller bezels. We're not going to have time for that. We have 4 minutes.
It's okay. We can go a few minutes late. I'm cool with it.
So yeah, small bezels, very small bezels. It also features something similar to the HTC U11. You pulled up the wrong.
I pulled up the wrong link because I'm a genius.
Yeah. And so this phone is going to be made by LG. I just want to point that out before I talk about this next feature. It's apparently going to have a squeezable frame, just like the U11. Looks like that's the new feature for Android, guys. I miss the days of front-facing speakers.
I do too. I miss the days of headphone jacks.
I like how front-facing speakers were like the big thing, and they came in, and then everybody said we don't give a fuck anymore.
Well, it's because they started designing like just. I feel like just the standard under the fucking phone headphone or speaker just started to become more popular with it because nobody wanted to see smaller bezels, especially coming in, ruin that. Yeah,
plus, I mean, it's easier, actually, to waterproof the phone when you have the speaker on the bottom. Now, here's the thing what we need in a phone. What we need is a phone that is super bezel-less, just like, say, the Galaxy S8 or the new Pixel XL, right?
The new iPhone.
And it or the new iPhone, in theory. And it has the fingerprint sensor under the screen. It has a pressure-sensitive screen all over to do special things.
So the iPhone?
So like no. I'm getting to some here. You gotta wait for the climax. And the speakers are under the screen.
No.
Yes, and you have some kind of technology that allows the audio to go through the screen.
Like holes.
So bone induction.
Not exactly.
You know what we need?
No, we just need to start putting everything under the screen. The camera will be under the screen.
We need a tube radio under the screen.
Yeah. Yes, right.
Okay, back to the Pixel XL.
Just a screen with everything under it.
Yes, so essentially you just want to keep companies to make screens.
Yes.
Okay. I want
screens with smartphones built in.
I want a thin piece of glass and a projector that I have to hold at the same time while I'm using my phone.
Yeah.
There we go.
So yeah, this the Pixel XL leak, it's pretty likely it's going to be much like or very similar to this. No word on the headphone jack from I can tell from these
word.
Renders. So from what I can tell, if these renders are accurate, there won't be a headphone jack. Because I have a Pixel XL, and you can see the headphone jack. It's probably not going to be visible right here, but you can see the headphone jack from the back.
It makes me sad.
You can see
losing the
back
headphone
of
jack
phone.
actually makes me sad.
Yeah.
I feel like we're starting to grow into a marketplace where either it's going to force manufacturers to put out cheaper Bluetooth headphones, which I'm okay with, or it's going to force some sort of just new market around jackless headphones. I feel like it's just
USB-C headphones will be
USB-C headphones will be a big thing. Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's fine.
Earbuds,
I think the biggest issue is Apple not using USB-C. So right now you're in a situation where you could buy a USB-C headphone that would work on, say, a Pixel, which already has a headphone jack. It would also work on any upcoming Android phones that don't have headphone jacks. It would also work on the MacBook. It would also work on Apple's desktops and Windows laptops, and it would not work on the iPhone or iPad.
Yeah.
You'd have to buy
Apple
headphones.
needs to switch to USB-C on everything. And they've kind of already said that, like not straight up, but by changing all of their MacBooks and stuff to USB-C, it says, hey, we're dedicated to USB-C. So I feel like they're going to change their mobile stuff.
I don't know. Because
Lightning's old at this point anyway, and they changed the 30-pin once it was old. They kept the standard until it was old, but something better was out.
Did they profit off of the 30-pin?
Right, and that's the... Well, no, they did profit off the 30-pin.
I don't think so.
There was licensing fees for it.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But I don't think anywhere near to the extent
Yes.
as Lightning. Plus, there was no 30-pin headphones.
Yeah.
So, now they're profiting off of it more, and I get that. But,
Yeah. Thankfully, with my headphones, once USB-C becomes commonplace, I can just buy a different cable, although I'll have the Bluetooth module by then. But,
yeah. See, and this stuff, like, of course, I think there are some audiophiles that freak out saying, oh, no, now we're going to lose all of our wonderful analog audio jacks. You won't on the high-end stuff.
Yeah.
And people need to keep that in mind, too.
And it's a cell phone.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's a cell phone. You don't want to put high-end stuff on it anyway. You can get USB DACs that you can strap to your cell phone to put really high-end headphones on if you really want to do that on the go. Yeah. Don't recommend it. But anyway, I just wanted to throw it out there. Anybody that's worried about... We won't be losing the headphone jack, period. We're losing the headphone jack on budget and super mobile-oriented headphones. We're going to still see quarter-inch and...
3.5.
Huh?
3.5 millimeter.
And 3.5 millimeter jacks on, high-end audio equipment for computers and stuff like that.
Did iPhone confirm that they're still doing Lightning on the next iPhone? Or?
Nothing has been confirmed.
Nothing's confirmed about the iPhone 7.
I feel like they might go with USB Type-C, especially since they did say that they're keeping like nothing of like this is like completely different. From
It's
Steve
more.
Jobs.
See, the reason that I don't think USB-C is likely with the next iPhone is Apple has already said they want to get rid of ports. Why would they implement a new port when they're planning on, as soon as humanly possible, getting rid of that port in the first place?
Well, maybe they'll just release it, and they have to release it as Lightning because they're not going to include a charger.
Yeah.
Just like the 3DS, right?
They got rid of ports by
the
now.
benefit.
Well, yeah, they're just like it still uses Lightning, so your old charger will work with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the benefit of using Lightning on the iPhone when nothing else, including Apple's own computers, use Lightning, is that it's going to push people to Bluetooth, which means that the headphones that people buy who are intelligent and buying Bluetooth instead of Lightning headphones are going to ultimately be ready for when Apple ditches ports entirely.
Yeah, and that's true. And I think I think they're probably investing a lot of money into properless wireless charging tech so they can get rid of everything. And I mean, I understand getting rid of ports. But when are they going to get rid of buttons? I'm just kidding.
I know.
Okay, well, we have one more topic to talk about.
KFC phone.
KFC is making a phone. Not a joke.
Huawei is making it. It's KFC branded.
Yes, KFC branded Huawei phone. I don't believe it's
China.
In China, but this
China.
doesn't. It's to celebrate their anniversary, but it doesn't look like it's like a special edition sort of like, oh hey, this is only for select customers or something. This is like, hey, you can go buy the KFC phone. What phone do you have? KFC. I'm the Colonel, bitch.
Oh, don't talk to me anymore.
See, and then you just name your phone the Colonel. And then you go, oh, wait, it's running, the kernel from Android. And so what if the kernel corrupts the kernel and your phone breaks?
Yeah. So this is a modified... This is a modified version of the Huawei Enjoy 7 Plus, which is a mid-range phone. It's only available in some markets. It's pretty crappy. It's got a 720p 5.5-inch display.
You see, if this becomes available in the U.S. and is reasonably priced, I'm buying one.
I mean, import it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to
import
it. That's going to
be
cost
cheaper at that point to import it.
Yeah.
Maybe so. We'll see what the pricing is. But I mean, if we're looking at...
I would buy one just for the meme value of it.
So the phone comes with 10,000 $, which is a digital currency.
Oh my god, KFC is starting a cryptocurrency. Are you kidding me?
It's not crypto.
I'm kidding.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wait, when are we going to be able to... The more chicken you eat... the more $K you get.
And it includes a pre-installed music app that lets you create playlists and share them in KFC restaurants.
Oh my god.
I'm so happy.
I can just see someone putting Cupcake. Do you know that song?
The song Cupcake? Why are you playing music?
I'm not. It's autoplay.
I know.
No, the band.
I know. I don't know the band Cupcake. I don't. I'm sorry. But
what was their one song?
We do have to wrap up pretty quick here, just FYI.
Are you good?
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, KFC phone. Yeah, if I can, I'm probably gonna try and get it because it's interesting and hilarious, and I would love to have it.
Yeah, this is insane. Oh, there's only gonna be 5,000 on sale.
Oh, it is limited edition. I missed that part. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's tragic. Rip poor people.
Sad. Just find one on eBay for like $9 million later.
It's like,
oh man.
Get the KFC phone.
KFC.
Get the KFC phone.
I loved The Verge's article title. KFC's iPhone killer has arrived, and then their subtitle, bucket list goals.
It's so great. It's so great. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, man.
I would get the KFC phone. Like, if I had money, I would buy the KFC phone, literally take out the SIM card and use it as only an emergency phone. Like, keep it locked up somewhere, so that way if, like, an emergency happens or something, it's like, where's the phone? Get the KFC phone.
Oh,
They're
man.
selling for
man.
$162 US.
What? What? Where?
Where?
That's like the China.
The conversion price.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey,
Okay.
you can't say it like that.
You can't say it like the China conversion price.
You can't say the and China in the same words.
China.
The.
Okay. So we gotta go ahead and wrap it up here, though. It's time for me to head to bed because I work in the morning. But thank you everybody for watching. You will be seeing a build video from me either Friday or Monday. Probably Monday. It depends how much time I have for editing tomorrow. But just, I've been incredibly busy doing a lot of stuff, preparing more things for the future of the site and the future of the channel.
And the future of the booty.
And the future of the booty. So, I've been working towards building my new render machine, along with redesigning the website, along with getting more consistent videos and articles out. And I'm doing a whole lot of behind the scenes stuff to try and get that going. So that's why content has been a little more limited from me lately, and I just want to say that will change. I'm doing everything I can and investing quite a bit of money into helping that change. So for those of you that are expecting the 4 to 5 videos a week that I have planned out, I know I've been very lackluster on that recently, and I apologize for that, but it's just because of everything that's been going on. I've been doing a lot with the company, just not a lot that you guys are seeing. So just wanted to let any of the long-term viewers and stuff like that understand that. And by the time we hit 1,000 subscribers, my goal is to have everything smoothed out and things to be a lot better. And that's coming up pretty quick here. So, yeah, pretty soon. Anyway, you guys should see a video from me either Friday or Monday, and you'll start seeing more videos hopefully next week now that I have a rendering PC and stuff like that. And I'm buying some camera equipment soon, so that's going to help.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Calvin, for joining in and talking about random shit that nobody actually cares about.
Waving to the back of the
He
camera.
waved at the back of the camera, guys. It's great. Anyway, thank you, everybody. That was a great live stream. We appreciate everybody that's been watching, and definitely check us out next week, 9 p.m. Pacific time. And we tweet out usually, about 30 seconds before we start it because we're too lazy to.
And
actually
don't
do it on
worry,
time.
as is the tradition with tech streams, we're always a couple minutes late.
Yeah, at least a couple minutes.
Yeah.
We were like 25 this time.
Yeah.
We've been an hour late. That was fun, but that's because we had blue screens.
Blue screen.
So anyway, we're not blue screening anymore, but yeah, thank you everybody, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off air, but it might take